The first item of business is the election of chair. Do I have any nominations?
Yes, I would like to nominate Councillor Allen for chair.
Seconded?
Yes, seconded.
Thank you.
Councillor Allen.
Right. Just to say for housekeeping for those joining on Teams, please refrain from using the meeting's chat to anything other than indicating that you want to speak. And please mute your microphone until it is your turn to speak. Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the licensing panel. I'm Councillor Nick Allen, chairman of the panel today, to consider the application for the Feta and Fig 3 Rectory Road, Bracknell. I'd like to start by asking everyone to introduce themselves, starting with the panel members.
Councillor Janet Cochrane for Hamlet and Bircham.
I'm Councillor Welch for Harmswater and Crownwood.
Okay, and as I said, I'm Councillor Nick Allen and I represent Alsmore and College Town. Going to the end of the table.
There 16 Rectory Road.
Okay.
I'm Tessa Campbell, Rectory Road resident.
Okay.
Darren Brownlee, licensing officer.
Thank you.
Emma Dearsley, Park meeting.
I'm Donald Adams, legal advisor to the panel, so my job is to provide legal and procedural advice to the panel to assist with any points of clarification that may arise.
And can the applicant introduce themselves, please?
Raham Ford is just the business owner or just a Feta and Fig director, that's all. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item 2 is the standard item relating to declarations of interest. Would members of the panel please confirm that they have no disclosable pecuniary or affected interest in the application before us this afternoon, and in doing so, I will say I don't.
I don't.
I don't.
Okay, thank you. Item 3 sets out the procedure that must be followed for hearings considered by licensing panels. For the purposes of today's hearing, I will quickly remind everyone of the order which we will follow today. First, I will ask the licensing officer, Darren Branley, present his report in respect of this application. Everyone will then have the opportunity to ask questions of the licensing officer. Secondly, we will consider the objector's case and ask any questions we may have. And finally, I will ask the applicant to present their case for why the application should be granted. There'll be the opportunity to ask questions of all participants. However, all questions must be asked through the chair and there must be no cross-examination. Before we finish, we will confirm that the applicant and objector have both said everything they wish to say in respect to this application. At this point, I will ask everyone to leave the room and the panel will make their decision in private. At this point, you are welcome to leave the meeting, or if you wish to hear our decision, you may stay and be readmitted by our clerk. The panel's decision will also be communicated to you in writing, communicated in writing to all parties within 2 working days and will be published on the council's website. Okay, so the purpose of this meeting is to determine the application for a new premises license for the Feta and Fig 3 Rectory Road, Bracknell. Before I begin, I must ask whether anyone feels that there is any reason for an adjournment of this case. No, thank you. Mr. Brownlee, can you confirm that the formal requirements in respect to this matter have been complied with?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So if we're all ready, I will ask Mr. Brownlee, the Public Protection Partnerships Licensing Officer, to present the report.
Good afternoon. My name is Darren Brownlee. I'm a licensing officer with the Public Protection Partnership, and I will introduce the application. On the 23rd of July 2025, an application was received from Feta and Fig Limited for a new premises licence under the Licensing Act 2003. The address for the applied for is Feta and Fig, 3 Rectory Road, Bracknell, RG 12 7BN. The application has been recorded on the licensing database under reference number 27723. The application was validated on the 23rd of July 2025, when consultation period starting on the 23rd of July 2025 and ending on the 21st of August 2025. The responsible authorities were notified of this application on the 23rd of July 2025. The application was advertised in accordance with the Act, with the relevant blue notices being displayed at the premises and a notice of the application being advertised in the Bracknell News on the 30th of July 2025. A copy of the application form is attached as Appendix 1. A copy of the premises plan is attached as Appendix 2. For the benefit of members, the licensing authority have created a series of maps showing the location of the premises. This is attached as Appendix 3. This application seeks to obtain the following licensing activities: a late night refreshment, Sunday through to Thursday, 2300 till midnight, Friday and Saturday, 2300 till 0200 hours. It's both indoors and outdoors. There are no non-standard timings have been applied for. The opening hours that have been applied for are Sunday to Thursday, 0600 hours to midnight, Friday to Saturday, 0600 hours to 0200 hours. At this point, I'd like to point out a minor error that was made in the report, 4.3. 4.3, it refers to non-standard timings. There has, in fact, been no non-standard timings applied for, so please disregard that one. No representations were made by any of the responsible authorities. However, a total of 1 valid representation was received from a member of the public. This representation was made in the belief that the granting of this new premises licence would undermine the licensing objectives, namely prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance, public safety, and the protection of children from harm. The representation was predominantly in relation to the prevention of public nuisance, with concerns over noise being generated from the premises. These representations are attached as Appendix 5 through A through to C. As relevant representations were made, members must determine the application. Members must consider all representations, both written and oral, with due regard to the licensing objectives, and decide whether the application for a premises license should be granted or rejected. If members are minded to include any additional conditions other than those offered by the applicant, they will need to provide their reasons for doing so in the decision notice. Licensing authorities should only impose conditions which are necessary and proportionate to promotion of the licensing objectives. In addition to this, it was stated that any condition attached to the license should be enforceable.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you have any points of clarification you wish to ask of the licensing officer?
No.
Yeah, I just want to go back to this paragraph 4.2, where it says the late night refreshment. If it's why does it say no non-standard timings have been applied for if the timings are not standard?
And that refers to anything in addition to those that have been applied for. For example, there could be a New Year's Eve, Christmas Day.
Oh right, okay. So exceptions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Exceptions outside those timings. Right, got it. Okay. I see you actually put the in 5.2. You do actually clarify the licensing hours of local premises as well, which is quite useful. Thank you. Actually, I don't have any. Mr. Fard, are there any points you wish to ask of the licensing officer?
No, there is no at this point. No.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask the objectors. Do you have any points you wish to ask of the licensing officer?
Just a bit of a follow-up on the last thing you said about what's the operating hours? Last thing.
So that's the time in which the premises will be open.
Okay, for that location,
And,
so not the block itself.
No, just
That's
for this.
what I wanted to
Yeah.
clarify. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the panel will now consider representations from the objector, Mrs. Campbell. We have all received and read your written representation carefully. Please would you tell us why you feel this application should be refused?
Can I just clarify? It's my intent is not to request for the application to be refused.
Right.
My concern is around the hours itself, predominantly the 12 to 2 a.m. By no means would I expect, or I'm saying, please refuse it. I'm saying, please, can you look at those hours? It is the 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. hours that really, really significantly concerns me. Reason being, as a resident, what I'm sure we know that we live within a mixed community where you've got commercial buildings and we have residential buildings. At 6 a.m. every morning, whether or not we choose to wake up, we do, because the business is open and we're awake. I know they've said, I've read Mr. Fadi, he's been absolutely amazing sending it through, but there are just a few things from that he said about keeping windows and doors closed. However, being on top of the building, that does not negate the noise. It negates the outside noises, but it doesn't negate what happens inside. It vibrates, it comes through. Customers going in and out, I completely understand and respect. We can ask as best as we can. We can put the signage up, we can make that, but we have little or no control. From experience, I can tell you when businesses are open, customers do sit and they linger and they have these conversations there. And I get that that is something that's unpredictable. Respectfully, I think as a resident, and I know my other residents hadn't written from conversations, it's the concern around the 12 to 2 a.m. element of the application. Just regarding some things that Mr. Fad himself, he'd replied, quite honestly, things like he'd said he'd spoken to other businesses who've actually confirmed that during the winter months, footfall falls from 7 p.m., trade is low, and the area becomes quiet. We know you build it, they will come. If the building's open at 12, and we do have occasionally people do pass by on these nights, it's a weekend, they're coming in from the pub, they do stop for and have a little chat and a sing and we can tolerate that for short periods. Having the possibility that there is somewhere that we can then go in and have a chat and a sit down or go in and order will mean that there's a longer lingering period. Again, I understand. I was just one question I wanted to ask, because to clarify, what does operational flexibility mean? Because he did say it's not about serving customers, it's about operational flexibility. So that would really help to have some clarity around what that means. The other concern as well, there's an extractor fan outside the building. It's a restaurant, it's preparing food. I'm assuming if we're doing that between 12 and 2 a.m., that will be running. I cannot attest at the moment if it's going to be loud or quiet, but we have to take that possibility in consideration. That is on the bedroom windows. I am a parent of a child with autism. I can say hypersensitivity, sleep comes rarely. So if that's going to be running from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m., and I also have a neighbor whose boys are autistic by diagnosis, it is something that just wanted to put out there to say to keep in consideration for that period of time. Linking back to something Mr. Ferd himself wrote back, he said, I've spoken to McDonald's in town. They said since your late night hours trading, they've encountered challenges, which include intoxicated customers coming in, difficult customers. So that just seems to sink in with my concern at that time. Full clarification, I'm not asking you to reject the license. I'm asking you to consider the hours from 6 a.m. on a Saturday and on a Friday, from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. on a Saturday as well, from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. It's a really long period of time. And it's just between my genuine concern is from 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. My neighbours and I, we do have conversation. A neighbour has spoken to Mr. Ferd, others said we wait till they open and then we complain. I'd rather not do that. The opportunity came, you've asked, I've said. I just want you to think about that block of time. That is where my concern is. I know there's no legal requirement around, but I'm just saying from a mental health and well-being perspective, it's just please consider 12 to 2 a.m.
Can
It's
I-
a long day.
Can I just?
You have to go through me, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
That's right. I'll indulge. Sorry, you
Sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. Just a quick example. There's one of the shops downstairs. They have been extended. We were fine when it just started, so they have extended, which makes the business busier, thus for more delivery. Now we have nowhere in that house to hide from delivery because the first one delivered by truck at the back, and they're not considering who's upstairs when the door slam and the crates rock across. The next one is at the front where it's a bread delivery, but I swear I've called someone up and report about it. It drops like about 4 in the morning.
Oh,
The
wow.
crates whenever 4 3 o'clock in the morning. The crates slam on the ground, skates across there. Summer is horrid. You cannot open your door, and we don't have any aircon. Your windows. So that whole house is woken up, and I am somebody that do 13 hours of work, including weekends.
understand.
That's why we're trying to argue about the timing. It's not about closing down the business.
We look forward to having the business there.
So
I'm just gonna, I think, final point, again, it's around, I've read all the things that will be put in place, and I respect that. Signage, amazing. However, we know people having a night out and people going out. We've got little or no control. Putting a staff member in that position to say stand outside and control, that is putting someone at risk, and I respect that. It's a very, very long period of time. I admit, I know when we bought the flat, it was going to be a business. We get that and we respect that. However, like I've put in my initial written statement, and I do understand its familiarity. Yes, there was a business that used to be open until 11 p.m. They have reduced their hours. However, completely understand businesses are there for a profit up to midnight. I mean, just like my husband, I mean, we all have professions, but I have a very, very long day. The weekend is the only time that I'm not getting up to go to work. I do work at home on the weekend because my job demands it. It just would be, from a mental health perspective, it's being aware of all these things. And while I'm the only person sat here in front of you, it is a shared concern from the other residents.
Just to allay some of your fears about whether this applicant can be allowed to trade or not. This is a licensing panel, so it's only concerned with the licensing activity, which in respect to this particular application is what's going on after 11 o'clock at night. So it's not a question of whether this business can trade at all during the day.
That wasn't a question.
I'm sorry, I thought that was your concern.
No, absolutely not.
Oh.
That was definitely not a question. It's exactly the point that you have just raised. It's about operating within those hours and the impact that is going to have on us in the long term.
Yes. What's going on after 11 o'clock?
What happens, again, to be honest, after midnight. What happens after that period of time? Like I said before, if the extractors are going, we've got children on that side of the building. If people are going in and out, we can't stop people from slamming the car doors when they go in and out of buildings. And these things do happen. Just, again, what I've put here is what Mr. Fine has written to say that other businesses have said this is their experience.
Okay. Just answering one of your questions, you asked about operational flexibility.
Yes.
Basically, that is just the ability for the applicant to, if we give them hours, they can make the hours shorter if they want to. They don't have to until 2 o'clock.
But they can.
But they can. So the operational flexibility is the ability to close at 10 if they think they need to close at 10. So that's where that wording came in. So right, okay. Are there any questions from my fellow panel members for the objector?
No, not from me. No.
I just have one question. In regards to the other businesses that close at 11 p.m. is the latest.
It's the co-op, yeah.
That's co-op. Do you find you still get a lot of noise after that time?
Yes, we do get some noise after that, especially like I said on the weekend when the pubs are closed and people are walking home. The football's been on, but quite frankly, by 10 o'clock, the area is quiet. Once the co-op, the metal thing they have, once that goes down, the shutter, once the shutter goes down, and that's what I was saying, all these things, we hear them. Oftentimes there's an odd passerby or a couple who stop and have a song and a dance outside, coming from the pub, or the odd cars that will park and play their music in the car park, which again, I guess, my concern, like I said, is that if at the moment there is nowhere else for them to go, we're passing by, we stop, we have a chat, we have a sing, we, park and we play the music. The concern here is, 1 a.m., pubs are all closed, on my way home here somewhere else, that's just considering that possibility.
I have a couple of questions. Actually, where is the nearest pub? Because I actually don't know where the nearest pub is.
You're asking a very interesting question. I actually don't drink.
Okay.
So
I'm just curious because
I think currently,
I know there's none in that parade.
there is none on that. No,
Yeah.
there isn't. Once the off license closed years ago, and
Yeah.
there was nothing.
So it's the Golden Farmer, which is just up the road.
Oh, yeah, that's quite a walk though, isn't it?
It is a walk.
Yeah, okay.
It's
Fine.
that one. But actually, there's a pub by one riding. There's a pub.
It's all right. You
Just by one right. I remember seeing that one.
Okay.
I'm really sorry. I don't consume alcohol, so I'm really sorry.
I was just because it's pertinent to the opening hours, because of course if people want to buy food on the way back from the pub, then that's another thing to take into consideration. That was all. So you mentioned that there's a car park. So and you said you do get disturbance from the car park because there's a car park outside the.
There's a car park at the front of the shops.
For the
Yes.
shops, yeah.
And there's also one that possible drivers and the staff will use at the back.
Oh, right, cool, yeah.
So we're basically in the middle. There's a car park at the front and a car park at the back.
Okay. And just the other comment about deliveries, I'm afraid that's not part of this debate because we actually don't cover the licensing of the deliveries. So.
And we understand that. I think it was just giving you an example of things that do happen
The way
within that time and the impact of it.
Okay. Mr. Farr, do you have any questions of the objectors?
No, I don't. No.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bramley, do you have any questions of the objectors?
No, it was just you've covered it, to be quite honest with you. The link between other licensed premises and any disturbance, and I think it's a tenuous link, in my opinion.
Got it. Okay, I understand. Thank you. Right, if we go ready to move on, Mr. Fard, would you please outline your case for granting the application?
I mean, in terms of the points that you guys are highlighted is all valid. I understand all of that, and I'm probably gonna be cautious as well if I were living there as well. So, but as I explained in my text as well and my email, I just trying to get into the operational flexibility. Literally, I don't know how it's been operating in that kind of hours and how it is gonna be there. And the reason I applied between those hours, probably I'm never gonna be operating as well. But the reason I apply, I just want to make sure that I have that flexibility in case 1% that I can operate that. Okay. But based on my experience, because I was running Pizza Go down in High Street as well for 20 years, and then we had a license until 1 o'clock, but we realized that anything after 9 o'clock we don't get any kind of businesses going on, or if we are, it's just mainly 99% of that is it's just delivery based. So I mean, what I'm trying, the whole thing is that it just literally, the whole reason I apply for those hours is just operational flexibility other than anything else.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions of the applicant?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you.
No.
Right, I have a couple of questions. So you haven't actually opened yet, have you?
No, I have not. No.
Okay, so at this point we have no determination of how much of your business will be deliveries or how much will be people on foot?
No, I don't know, because like I said, everything, all of these is just based on the possibility of 1% is gonna be, is profitable in that during those hours. But again, like I said, the reason is that it's just for me to have that accessibility and then put a test in practice to see if we're gonna be flexible or we're gonna be profitable during those hours or not. Yeah, no, we haven't opened yet, so I don't have any kind of idea about how it's gonna be operating during that period of time or that part of the town. So I don't know.
So given that you have to advertise your opening hours, when you say operational flexibility, you mean
Yeah.
for example, you'll potentially be open longer in the summer and less in the winter or something like that. But you presume you can't just say on the day, I'm going to close at 10 today.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. But it's not gonna be like that. So it's gonna be a new business as well. So what I was thinking to start with, I was gonna say from 6 o'clock. Even I applied like I applied from 6 o'clock to 12 for weekdays, and then Saturdays and Friday and Saturday till 2 o'clock. But again, the reason is that because I've got a very aspiration kind of time, it's just gonna operate, during like breakfast time, then after that lunchtime, and then so on. But again, even although I apply for 6 o'clock, probably in the next 1 year I won't be able to operate from 6 o'clock to for a start. What I'm trying to do is just start from 11 or 12 all the way to 9:30, and then see how is the demand going to be look like. Then as we go on, if I realize that okay, we have more demand, so I extended the hours. If it's not, so shorten, or just keep as it is. But like I said, it just literally it's just for the operational flexibility rather than anything else. But whatever it is, it's just gonna be from day one. Okay, so for example, when I open, I'm actually like trying to open like 1st of October, but it's gonna be from 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock all the way to 11 or 10 or 11, doesn't matter. And then that is gonna be a fixed hours. Then after that, based on that, then we just I decide whether it's gonna be extended or not. Yeah, but for the start, it's gonna be one core hours. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Right. No further questions on the panel. Do the objectors have any questions for the applicant?
Not really, no.
You don't have to ask the question, right?
There is something I want to say, but it's not necessarily a question.
Okay, if it's not a question, then I'll have to, you have to leave it for the time being. Okay, Mr. Brandy, do you have any questions of the applicant?
No, I suppose it's a consideration on that Friday and Saturday, the timings. I suspect that is probably what the objector is.
Yeah.
As he considered his changing that.
Okay. Right, okay. At this point in the proceedings, I will ask the applicant and the objector to sum up their case. I would ask that you do not introduce any new information or evidence at this stage. The objector, can you please sum up your case?
What I wanted to say, which is new information technically, because falling on,
Okay.
is my request is not to say not granting the license. It is, and I'm significantly concerned now to hear that actually we might be open from there to there and then extending the hours. It is please take in consideration between 12 a.m. and 2 a.m. because I did have a question actually. The concerns are around not just it's operational as well in terms of things like people going in and out, doors are slamming, the extractor fan running, all that information. It's just taking consideration those 2 hours.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you. Applicant, would you like to sum up your case?
I mean, I think I don't have anything else other than what I have stated or what I have written there as well. So nothing much.
Okay, thank you. So that brings everyone's contributions to a close. I will ask each of you in turn that you to confirm that you've said all that you wish to say in regards to this application. Mr. Farr, have you said all you need to say?
Yes.
Mrs. Campbell, have you said all you need to say?
Yes, I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bramley? Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming. Right, before we finish this meeting, I will ask our legal advisor, Mr. Donald Adams, to advise us of any legal issues that need to be taken into account.
Thank you, Chair. Just to pull together some of the strings and themes that we've heard today. So this is an application under the Licensing Act 2003 for the applicant seeking a new premises license to permit one type of licensable activity at the premises, namely the provision of late night refreshment, which by definition is the provision of hot food and drink after the hours of 11 o'clock. It's defined as late night refreshment. It's hot food and drink, hot drink, between the hours of 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. That's not, however, what the applicant seeks in terms of the hours. This is a new premises with no trading history for this applicant at this premises to date. As you've heard, the proposed opening hours of the premises are potentially subject to the applicant's assessment of trade, anywhere between 6 a.m. and midnight, Sunday to Thursday, and 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. Fridays to Saturdays. The proposal, again subject to assessment of trade, is for the provision of late night refreshment, both indoors and outdoors, to allow for both collections and delivery of hot food and hot drink after the hours of 11 o'clock. Namely, the application is for 11 o'clock till midnight, Sunday to Thursday, and 11 o'clock to 2 a.m. Friday to Saturday. As you've heard, the applicant is currently in the process of assessing the market demand for such late night refreshment at the premises, and thus, as he stated, seeks operational flexibility to now enable him to make that assessment under the hours that he seeks. As you've heard, and as is included in the report, there are neighbouring licensed premises in Rectory Row, namely 2 retail premises. I understand from the report that the latest opening hours of those is the Co-op, which has a license to allow for the retail sale of alcohol between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. Monday to Sunday. As the report does state, also there are, I believe, 12 commercial units in Rectory Row, and there are approximately 20 residential premises above them. I also understand that this premises is opposite a community centre. So your task is to determine whether granting the licence, namely for the provision of late night refreshment, promotes the 4 licensing objectives under the Licensing Act 2003. As is set out in the agenda and as has been heard, you have discretion to determine the application having regard to everything that's been written and heard, including from the representation for the panel today. You will consider the provisions of the Licensing Act itself, Licensing Act 2003, and the associated hearings regulations, along with the provisions of the Home Office guidance issued under that Act. You'll also consider the Council's own statement of licensing policy. You'll also consider, as is included within the agenda pack, the applicant's operating schedule, together with the mandatory license conditions that would attach to the license if granted, as well as any additional conditions that you may determine appropriate to promote the 4 licensing objectives. As has been said, the overriding objective is to determine the application having regard to the promotion of 4 licensing objectives under the Licensing Act 2003. Those are the prevention of crime and disorder, the promotion of public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. Each of those 4 objectives is of equal importance. The application is to be determined on its own merits, and it must be evidence-based. As this application is for a new premises licence at a not previously trading premises with no prior licensable trading history for this applicant at this premises, you will need to consider whether granting this licence is likely to have an adverse impact on the promotion of those 4 licensing objectives, and whether sufficient checks and balances can be put in place in seeking to prevent the likelihood of the submitted issues arising. You have discretion in giving your reasons for doing so to amend or omit conditions or to impose additional conditions. However, as has been said, any imposed conditions must be proportionate, justifiable, capable of being met by the applicant, and appropriate to the promotion of the licensing objectives. In terms of representations, as has been said in the report, you will note that no objections were raised from any of the responsible authorities, including Thames Valley Police, Environmental Health and Trading Standards. As you've heard, as is here today, one valid representation was received from one of the neighbouring residents above the Rectory Road Parade. That representation raised particular concern that the granting of the licence for such hours as sought would likely undermine the licensing objectives of prevention of public nuisance and prevention of crime and disorder in terms of asserted risk of increase in noise and smell nuisance, sleep deprivation, and risk of antisocial behaviour from persons loitering and littering outside the premises and causing a disturbance late at night and in the early hours. As you've heard from the objector today, the prime concern is what potentially may happen after the hours of 12 o'clock. And to elaborate on the concerns of noise nuisance, there's reference to concerns about the extractor fan doors slamming. There's reference to a car park being both in front and behind residential premises. You will need to consider the likelihood of the licensable activity themselves adversely affecting the promotion of licensing objectives, and to what degree, if any, provision to deal with such concerns is within the control of the applicant. You'll consider that the Licensing Act itself does provide scope for review and or revocation of any granted licence, which would be an ultimate check and balance should complaints and issues arise that are attributable to the licensable activity at these premises. There are also statutory provisions outside the licensing regime itself, which gives power to the police or partner agencies to enforce against such issues as nuisance, public disorder, and antisocial behaviour, irrespective of whether those issues can be directly attributable to the licence activity at this premises or not, albeit that is, of course, subject to evidence gathering and resource considerations. So ultimately, as stated in the agenda, you have discretion to grant the licence subject to exclusions or conditions you deem fit to impose in promoting those 4 licensing objectives, including those conditions within the operating schedule and the mandatory licence conditions that would attach, as well as any other conditions that you deem appropriate to impose. Or you have discretion to refuse the application for the premises licence entirely. So that's your discretion.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Okay, so that concludes this panel meeting. The panel will now meet in private to make our decision. The decision we reach will be communicated in writing to all parties and published at the minutes of the meeting within 2 working days. When the panel meet to deliberate, the clerk and the legal advisor shall be present with us to keep a record of proceedings and to advise on points of law. They will take no part in the decision itself. Does anyone have any objections to the clerk and legal advisor meeting with the panel? Okay.
No.
I'm going to go off script here. Can we go back to room 5? Yeah. Yeah, fair. In which case, thank you for attending today. I would ask you to stay in the room while the panel go and deliberate. And then you can stay online, Mr. Farr, for the time being. And we shall be back shortly with our decision. If you need to leave at this point, the decision will